Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Roadside Nuggets today. I pray everybody is holding steady in these energies. They're quite intense. They're coming in hot. They are not stopping. And we're only going to go higher from here. So the intensity has to keep climbing. So thank you, Mom, for putting on the push, the pressure, the fire, getting our asses moving, right? Definitely some key points to talk about today. The collective and just where the angels really want to hone in on. There's a significant amount of resistance on this planet. As we all know, we talk about it every day. This is also in the awareness of creation, of course. However, in the awareness of the creation, now they are not in the same boat as humanity. So in this, I'm going to introduce to you all a different perspective and a different timetable that you are not used to, okay? So with humanity, we feel we have years. We feel we have long moments to come around to the realization that a lot of times we already realize way before. It's just our own stubbornness, our own thinking we know better, our own resistance, our own arrogance and pride that gets in the way, where we don't actually just step into the truth. We need a whole course all the way back around to the same point we already realized already. This, what we call angels, sabotage. Thank you. This sabotage is now becoming obsolete within our collective experience very, very soon. To the point of where it has to be known and aware to humanity in order for it to become sabotage, in order for them to realize that it is sabotage, that it is solely of their own volition and choice that is getting in the way of the actual result and solution. So coming to this point, there is a massive energy that is releasing very, very soon. There's a lot of moments on mission where I've had to really hone in my skills from Mom, and pinpointing certain things within the timeline that are coming. And those things in the timeline are pinnacle events, moments for humanity that are big changers, shifters in humanity's collective experience, which will it will act as a catalyst in a lot of ways to what you are used to, providing a lot of intensity and increase in stretch, giving you a very different contrast and a different experience you have not allowed yet. This is a key component in our ascension because humanity has so much resistance. We have denied ourselves of experiences that ultimately are our greatest catalyst for evolution. Meaning we are slowing down moments, what we would call linear time. We are trying to buy all that we can, which is not the will of God, which is not the will of divine creation. So at this point, we call it divine intervention, divine enforcement. Whereas from the back ends, from the surrounding environment, it will seem like everything is closing in because creation, love, God is closing in and squeezing everything within the center that is not pure, that is not true, that is not part of the original blueprint of what you are and you're designed by God that she has gifted you. For you to be aware of this because you have existed in the programming and conditioning for so long, there needs to be a purge. There needs to be a shatter, a squeeze to happen. Because truly, truth always stays. Truth will always stay through the pressure. Truth will always stay through the intensity and the fire. What's left over is the truth. So truly, humanity has to surrender this intense experience now coming that we have manifested, that we have asked for, that we have stubbornly resisted God so many times over for. That's going to break down this wall and this illusion that we are stuck in, where we cannot see the bigger picture of what is going on, why we are here, what's the purpose to all this. Is this really my life? Is this really what I am born to do and die doing? Does this satisfy my soul? Does this fulfill my soul to any point in any way. It does not. Because your soul came here for truth, for purpose, to realize itself in the highest form, the highest idea and truth. So at this point, if you can say that, where's the actual application of that? If you're not living that out, if you're not actively choosing that every day, then you are living a lie. You are living your worst fear you can ever imagine, that you wished and pushed past so much in your entire life growing up that you would never be, and you have become it. You have become your greatest lie in life. And that's going to hit deep on a lot of people, but it is the truth. And I really pray you receive this and accept this and allow this to move within yourself internally and see what it shows you. Because that's going to be, it's going to be a wall that a lot of humanity is going to face at this point. Because ultimately we have to understand manifestation. We have to understand the bigger picture of what's going on here. And if we truly are going to sit here and daydream day after day after day and not actually move in that direction to do anything about it, humanity, what are we doing at this point? Ask yourselves truly, what are you doing? What are you even living and breathing for at this point? Does anything matter to you? Did anything that your child self, the one that started this original truth, journey, from the very, very beginning, the original self of you, the first set foot in this world, is this everything you imagined as that child self? Ask yourself, honestly, feel into it. This is deep. This is going to be very deep today. And I want you to honestly see if you can detect, if you can discern all these fragments of pain and sorrow and heartbreak that you have been bypassing and dismissing in yourself because you think you're strong enough, you think you're old enough, you think you're wise enough, you think you've lived through enough of it just to be prepared, just to be ready, just to take care of it, just to survive it. When all the while you forgot the original idea, the original truth that none of it should have even existed. This is not love. You have been surviving this entire time, yet the entire time, this is not what God has set for you. This is not God's love. So ask yourself, are you really living your truest soul's desire? Or are you settling for things that are just given to you? And are you making up a story, fabricating something to make yourself comfortable with the scenario? How many of you are placating yourselves and enabling yourselves in this delusions of grandeur? Things and hopes and dreams that you're never going to actually step out and push for. Things you're never going to reach out for. Things you're never going to do the actual work for. But it looks nice. It looks nice, doesn't it? Feels nice for a moment. And then you what? You go back to your day jobs. You go back to your daily routines. You go back to what's familiar and normal to you. And what is familiar and normal to you? Ask yourselves that. What is familiar and normal to me? Is it dysfunction? Is it the pain and sorrow? Is it the things that you wake up to every day that you can just expect and be familiar with, but yet it's still pain and suffering, even though you're familiar with it? It's still pain and suffering. It's still catastrophe. It's still chaos. It's still lower frequencies. But that's what's familiar to you because you've been living it for so long, yet that's what you choose to go back to for pain, for not pain, suffering, but for comfort. That's what you choose for comfort. That's what you choose to be in a box of because you can predict it. You know how to expect it and assume it. It doesn't change the fact that you're still miserable. You're living awful. You're living in depravity. Pain and suffering. Victim consciousness. Choosing to be the martyr for society that nobody asked for, nobody needed, because the society is a complete sham. So what are you actually being a martyr for? Let's get deeper. Let's get serious. What are you being a martyr for? What is this society to you? What does it hold for you? Let's ask that question. I'm sharing this as we speak. What does it hold for you? What is the deeper meaning for you? In a lot of ways. Has it benefited you? Has it fulfilled you at any point, or has it just increased your thirst? Pushing you? Driving you? Enabling these fantasies and justifying these means of actions that absolutely don't make you happy, don't bring you joy, just give you more reason to hate and to accuse, blame, project, justify, and validate yourself even further, to stake your claim on that and identify with the pain and suffering, just to go further and say, this is my life. Look what I made out of it. Out of the pain and suffering. Out of the victim consciousness, out of the sorrows, and out of just the complete lack consciousness that's devoid of love, that's devoid of abundance and prosperity, yet that's what you want to sell people. That's what you want to share with people. That's what you want to show people that you are. This truly humanity is what you want to identify with. Now, as we go deeper into this, does any of this make you happy? Does any of this bring you joy at all? Does any of this help you feel greater than your original self? No. You know why? Because all these areas are just things that you have not looked at. They are all aspects of yourself that are truly divine in their higher form, but you have chosen not to focus on them. You have chosen that they are obsolete. You have chosen that you can leave them behind. You have chosen that you can hide them and keep them hidden from others. You have chosen that they are just simply not part of your focus right now. Not even realizing that within yourself, you are actually psychologically telling yourself that these parts of your own self are not important. Thus, you're saying that in a general sense, you are not important. We exist in unity consciousness, whether you realize it or not. We are born from unity consciousness, whether you realize this or not. Therefore, everything in creation is a part of unity consciousness, whether you realize this or not. And it moves in unity consciousness, whether you realize this or not. So if you have told yourself this, if you have accepted this for yourself, it is your reflection, it is your experience. And thus it will be your environmental experience as well. Because we exist in unity consciousness, no matter what we think we're doing, no matter if everyone thinks they're in their own individual experience, the experience itself in truth is unity. It's collective. So this is where humanity tries to fabricate and box another reality outside of true reality in complete fantasy, and try to justify their life and their experience in fantasy, in delusion and grandeur, in complete disassociation with true reality. And this becomes their box that they try to defend themselves on, that they identify themselves on, that they choose to defend and go the distance in their life for and support, whereas true reality is right here and they're completely missing it. This is where pretty much billions of people are on this planet right now. Choosing to be isolated, choosing to be boxed into their own bubble of reality, an experience that only exists really to them. But on the collective stream, the collective truth, the collective experience happening throughout all life that they have chosen to detach from, that they have chosen not to participate in, and only exist in their own personal schemes, this is everything they have been missing their entire life. If you could ask yourself, if there was a part of myself that I've lived say 20, 30, 40, 60 years of my life, and there was a part of myself I had never met, never understood, never connected with, never realized actually existed, and someday that part of myself actually just came on out of nowhere, just activated. what would that experience be? Could you even have space for that person? With how much of the bullshit you've accepted for yourself, could you even see them? That's the question. Can you really see the true self of yourself? Or are you too distracted by all the bullshit that you've accepted from life and other people that they wanted you to be? And now you're completely confused on who you actually are. Thus, your reflection of that in reality in life, you're completely confused of what life actually is. What you're doing here, why you're here, who are you serving, and what you're actually doing with your life, and how it's going to end up for you. You're completely confused. You have absolutely no idea what's going on. This is the dilemma of humanity. How much they resist going deeper within themselves and within the truth. And they have no idea what's actually going on. And the fear scares them. The fear scares them into conformity. The fear scares them into just accepting the bullshit out of people's mouths that they say on a whim. When those people themselves have not even reflected a moment on that itself. That's the truth. Bullshit, half-truths, things that have absolutely no meaning, that are hollow and have absolutely no depth to them. That is what humanity is completely jumping to and accepting in society and paying for. Yet the real true depth is being bypassed because humanity is scared truly. Because there is an internal awareness. Now at this point with the collective consciousness, humanity is not that dumb. We can say it, we can judge and be opinion based, and yes, humanity is dumb, but they are not that dumb. And you forget now that God herself was actually incarnated here in human form, physically, and she anchored that in. That energy itself was here on the planet for long moments. Meaning it had long moments to change the collective, and God doesn't move at slow pace, she moves fast. So there was a lot of changes that existed and happened in the etheric and the higher realms that are very quickly trickling out to the physical in these moments, and have been for long moments. This work that God did didn't disappear. It's trickling in through whether you are aware of it or not, which is the thing that what we call surprises, that God is so enjoy of. It's surprises. She loves surprises. And she loves to surprise the fuck out of the ego. Because the ego is the problem on this planet, blocking humanity from connecting back to God, her love, and realizing how beautiful and divine humanity really is, and our purpose and our meaning for being here in the first place. Which means that there has to be a change. There has to be something that's going to shift now with the collective consciousness, where we are going to realize there is multidimensionality to our entire life, which means we are multidimensional, which means this very surface area we've been playing for years and years and years in 3D no longer serves us at all. No longer benefits anything that we aspire and have ambitions for at this point. We have grown tired, depressed, and bored of the bullshit, because that's the truth. And humanity is too asleep at this point to realize that they are tired, depressed, and bored of the same bullshit. To where they become docile in this lucid space, where they've detached so much from it because they don't want that experience anymore, yet they have no voice to speak up for themselves. They have no will, they have no confidence, they have no stability and foundation within themselves to stand and say, you know what? It's a no for me. You have billions of people on this planet, and somehow, yes, there's thousands, yes, there's millions of people on this planet that are currently in different moments, saying something, doing something, yet there is not a consistent basis where billions of people now get that the democracy, the power over and domination on this planet of humanity's old bullshit systems and the cabal and what has been going on and what we have allowed into our experience to this point There's a massive space and void and lack and a consistent amount of this humanity's population actually stepping up and saying the same thing at the same moment, every single moment, and actually choosing that. That is what it takes. That's what it is waiting for. These energies are going to keep piling in. Because ultimately, God doesn't take over your experience. Your soul is asking for it. Therefore, you are going to realize through the experiences your idea and realization and your truth internally from what you are experiencing. And that's where God comes in and really provides the intervention. The intensity, the different dynamics that you face and go through that will change you and ultimately will shift you to the place that you need to be to align with the actual truth that will evolve you in that direction. That is the truth. There's a lot of things that are coming out on this planet now where humanity is, again, walking into the party late. A lot of these things have been out. They've been out for years, decades. They've been really blasted and collected with all this information and downloads. Yet at the same time, humanity's been so unplugged from reality and life and fantasy and delusion that they've had a long road back to what actual reality is. The amount of self-importance that actually exists on this planet and where humanity has completely siphoned themselves off into this separate lane where they exist in, that they choose to live their life in, that ultimately is collapsing. And that collapsing is causing anxiety and stress and frustration within the being because they've identified with that same lane. That's their life. That's who they are. That's what they are by name. That's everything that they've built themselves on. And if that collapses and falls, they truly have no foundation of stability because it was all externalized. And if it was all externalized, what actually is the true core of that being? Who are they? That truly is what we are getting down to in so many ways, multidimensionally. And it's going to crack and break a lot of egos on this planet. Because you can have a lot of spirit, you can have a lot of love and beauty and magic within yourself. Because truly everyone on this planet is soul-wise. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the beings that have a soul on this planet. You are divine by birthright. 100% true and equal and pure with Mother God. So in essence, everybody here is divine and light and love. So there's no difference. But for you to get to that realization and that anchor within yourself, there's a lot of bullshit you're going to have to weave through. There's going to be a lot of shit that you're going to have to unlayer back, one after another, and continue the process. Be consistent. Choose not to give up on yourself. Choose not to let up on the truth, because it's actually freeing you from all the bullshit that's been causing you the pain and suffering your whole life. And if you can intellectualize this, if you can actually feel this concept that you have been living a lie, that you have been accepting lies, that you have been completely corrupted and paying a system of lies every day of your life, to the point where you have let go of yourself. You have not realized truly who you are on an internal basis of how you've grown, who you are as a being, because you've been so busy and distracted externally with everything else and what everyone wants and what people are demanding from you, that if you actually gave a pause to that, what would you actually find? That's another question. What would you actually find in that? Who are you? When was the last time you actually looked in the mirror into your own two eyes and asked yourself that question and felt what it felt like to ask yourself that question? What would spawn from that? What would happen within yourself if you actually had that present moment with yourself and ask yourself, who am I? Why am I here? And the incredible feelings that will spawn from that moment are so ancient and so old, it will take you a moment to process. It's going to short circuit and flow through your entire system, your whole body. And you're going to wonder, exactly, who am I? Why am I here? Despite the name, despite the family, despite the friends, despite where you are in your life, despite what you've done, you as a soul that has existed for billions and billions of years, who are you? And what are you really doing here if you have existed that long? Is this truly what billions and billions of years results to? You existing in this mundane 9-to-5 job life, doing the bare basics, surviving, barely making it, trying to figure out how to be happy, trying to please other people, living for other people. Is this truly what billions years of your evolution as a soul individually has to show for it? And we wonder why we're not happy on this planet. There's deeper things within yourself that you have not been answering for yourself, humanity. There's deeper things in ourselves that we have not been looking at in a lot of ways where it will actually connect so many dots for ourselves. We have sold ourselves so much on 3D society, conformity of what looks good, what fits the best, what everybody accepts, what buys the most. As if that was the only thing in life that actually drove life itself, and we bypass all the smaller things that were in our awareness, yet those smaller things were the grandest and the biggest things that actually catapulted us into evolution itself. Because everybody's scared of them, everybody marks them as taboo, everyone doesn't want to look at those things. Yet they are the birthing place of humanity's pain, our own realization, our own push and drive in life not to give up. It's the fire under our bellies that never stops. That we have to keep searching, we have to keep looking, we have to keep finding ourselves, we have to keep recreating, we have to keep pushing and building and being. The building blocks of life, the primordial energies of itself. Who are you? Right? And all those things pay into thus higher layers of life, where we move into family, where we move into daily life, jobs, school, different parts of life where we, in an ecosystem, coexist with each other. And we get so lost within that whole maze, we have no idea what's actually going on. To where we reference a box on TV, and we use that as a justification of why we do things, why we are the way we are, and just the way life is, you just accept it. This is the country I live in, this is the religion I have, this is the race I am, and this is just the way I accept it. Except at this point where beings cannot be individuals now, they cannot be self-conscious, they cannot be a soul within their own individual self. Now they have to be a collective thing and dysfunction. And choose that because they're a color, because they're a religion, because they're part of a freaking Republican, a Democrat, a conservative, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. Because the identification is so deep and so out of place at this point. Humanity has lost all sense of what a center actually is, what actual identity is with the internal soul, and they have externalized so much they have no idea who they are. So, before we get to this cool, funny video, I just want to so this is all pummeling down to a lot of energies that are actually coming up now, that are coming up in quite a few weeks, humanity. And I will share with you that by November 1st, full confirmation, by November 1st, this energy will be hitting in full effect. This is a massive energy of displacement. And I want to go further into this and actually explain this more to you all, so you all have a more grander understanding and awareness of what this actually is going to cause. Because of everything we just explained and talked about is the reason for divine intervention in this area, where I would call it divine displacement. This massive energy is going to come in. Okay, by November 1st, it will be fully hitting in full effect. And there's no duration or time experiment or when it's going to end. This is just a catalyst energy that humanity has asked for to help displace the energies, help displace humanity in a lot of ways to where they can sense the change, where they can sense something is off, where they can sense things are not working correctly anymore. Because the control and resistance and lack of surrender is so severe at this point, this energy is now being asked for to actually offset humanity in a lot of ways, to where when you get offset, when you get blindsided by something, you tend to have a moment of pause to kind of recalibrate and see where you're at and figure out what to do. And that's where humanity needs to be at in these energies right now in order to prepare and get ready for what else is coming after that. So I really hope you all are listening to me as I share this and express this, that this is a massive energy that is going to hit the collective very, very soon. And of course, we will experience trickle outs of it all the way up to leading to that point and that date area of November 1st. And I haven't looked at an astrology chart. I haven't looked at anything yet, so I haven't really looked at what's going on planetary-wise or comet or anything like that. I'm not sure. I'll look at that later. But that's pretty much what the angels shared earlier before I got on stream is by November 1st is this when this energy collected is going to be hitting us on the timeline. So just get ready for that, angels. Angels are not playing. Get ready for that and just prepare. Drink water, ground. Stay centered and allow yourself to really be present with everything. All right. But and how deep we go in this, truly, we expand it further out into the outer layers of our life and what's going on, and the disclosure is closer. It is definitely getting so close. So much is coming out. It's been trickling out, but I'm saying like the main energy of it is about to hit soon. And I pray everybody is ready for that. I pray everyone has gone through the experiences they need to truly muster the weather that is going to hit. Because at this point, as you can see, and this is really a matter of just being real and authentic with yourself, it has not been a very smooth ride for humanity. And the amount of things that have had to come out to get humanity ready for what else is really truly coming, they are nothing but peas in a pod compared to the banquet that's going to be distributed soon. And it's going to be a lot. And these basics, these core principles, really need to be hearted and felt into and practiced and put into application, because this is what's going to sustain you. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be intense. It's going to be a lot. And I pray every single one of you are open and vulnerable enough to accept it and just move forward and trust that mom has this in the bag. And all you got to do is push forward and love yourselves through this process, and keep your eyes open. Stay aware, stay up to date, practice with yourself, discipline, and move through these. Everything is changing. This is not just another lifestyle change. This is not just another, setting change for you in a different, environment. Your actual physical body is changing. Everything within your own being is changing to a different nature you have never experienced before. So in a lot of ways, it is like going back to the child. It is like going back to the inner innocence of your own being, because there's a lot of things that we are learning now for the first time in actual true organicness that has never been experienced on the planet before. The very small trickle outs of it that ultimately is going to lead to such an amazing idea. You have no idea where we are headed, humanity. But it starts here in the breadcrumbs. And even acknowledging that, trusting that, but loving that, cultivating that into greater love and supporting it, so that when that grows, it's going to grow into something so immense. You just have no idea where we are headed. And these points, I mean, mom's got it all in the bag. You know, she's hitting the collective very hard, and you know, especially as all of us light beings that are choosing to come online and be love and be of support to God and push forward. You know, of course, increasingly you can also, you know, see that the beings choosing the lower, they're not doing so well. You know, they're not doing so well at all. And more of that experience is being revealed as more beings choose higher and choose more light. The lower is more exposed, the lower is more revealed, and to where all the way down right to the very point, the source of where the shit's coming from. And this ultimately is what we are waiting for. You know, there's a lot more coming than children being found in a tunnel, I'll tell you that. And it goes a lot deeper, and it gets a whole lot more gruesome than that. And unfortunately, that is the depth of how dark humanity is and has gotten. And unfortunately, that is how much we have bypassed and not been aware of that could be possible in our existence at this point as a civilization. You see, there's a lot of things you can call a title or a name and just pass off as a buck. But when you actually focus on something for a moment, there's a whole world and reality within that. We currently are that part. We are that topic. We are that little marker where if you expand in, it's a whole lot of bullshit. But it's getting cleaned up now. The creation, galactics, God, the angels, everybody's coming in on this, and they're not giving up. This is getting pushed to the very surface, and everything is being exposed, expressed, talked about. All the sensitive taboo topics, everything's getting put out in the open, in the light. Why? Because it has to. Humanity cannot be in this complacent state anymore. Humanity has to get aware, real, and raw with themselves to fully realize to the core of what's been going on, so we can completely shift it. So we can, from the very foundation up, with true stability and love, build something that will last forever in eternity, that is based out of love and truth and honesty and integrity, and is the image of Mother God. That's when Mom will come back. She ain't gonna come back and deal with all this shit. We gotta get our stuff together. And it's a big ride ahead of us, and it's going to be actually a lot faster than a lot of you actually think. So just get ready for that. Be prepared. And yeah, I love you all.
Biden, you're an old man, con man, bleeding with the herd, sniffing hair and groping kids all day. You got cloth on your face.
I have like one more year of capitalism left in me.
There was another creator who stitched this and said that an empire usually lasts around 250 years and the US is about 5 years away from that. And I thought that was so crazy because something that also has a 250-year cycle is the planet Pluto. And the US is literally about to have its Pluto return in 2022. For those that don't know, the United States has a birth chart and it has its natal Pluto in the second house. The second house rules money, finances, but it also rules what we value. The planet Pluto rules transformation and destruction. Return in astrology is when a transiting planet has returned back to the exact same degree and sign that it was when someone or something was born. We're never going to go through a Pluto return because we don't live 250 years. But America is. The Stitched creator who was talking about how the collective is now realizing just how unsustainable capitalism is and how we're all realizing that the system is not working in direct correlation with the United States Pluto return back to the second house exactly where it was 250 years ago. Just as we're experiencing the worst wealth inequality known in history. Student loan debt is almost $2 trillion. Current housing crisis and no affordable housing. And more than ever, people aren't just challenging what America values, also challenging how American capitalism was built off the backs of Black and Indigenous people. Get ready.
And that's another thing too, you know, it's like a lot of these things, and this is part of what I was talking about with, you know, humanity kind of catching up to late to the party, is these things are already in effect. They've been in effect for such long moments that by the time beings in this reality, in this lifetime, in this single incarnation right here find themselves in, a lot of this work has been done long before you even drew the first breath. It was already set up. It was already sanctioned by God. It was already predicted, profited, whatever you call it. It's already set in place. So this energy itself and what they're sharing is like not even has nothing to do with material. And this is what we have to let more and more go of, is the material part of life. And realize physical does not mean material. Material and physical are two very different genres, two very different frequency waves. And I'm quite tired of everyone saying like, well, material and the physical world is like, no, they're like two different things, okay? Material is what humanity's material obsession is. Physical is physicality. Two very different things. Physicality is spirituality. Material is not spirituality. Let's get that straight, okay? So moving forward with like understanding, you know, what's going on is within human physicality and our life that we build on with, that grows into society, that grows into what we call human life, I guess at this point. You know, America itself, and when America was actually established and all that, you know, that all plays into cosmic order, divine law, you know, divine plan, to where even the divine plan existed at back then at that point. So these things were all put in place, of course. And so as Pluto comes around and moves into this place and for America, this is a lot of where, of course, where Mom said that like the ascension would start. The ascension will start in America, and it will catapult and trickle out to the world. This is why everything is the way it is. This is why God manifests physically here in this incarnation, in this timeline, the timeline of ascension, is because this is where the energy is going to hit first, and it will trickle out. To where this planet and this particular area of America, the actual consciousness, collective consciousness in this continent, is going to undergo a massive shift and rifts during this time period, which is what we're already in and have been in for moments, which will affect all these different key areas where we have placed our human life and focus and attachment at, that actually define human life, which ultimately, after this transformation and shift, and after this all changes, it will rediscover itself in a different idea and realization, meaning humanity will rediscover itself in a different idea and realization that is far from where we are at this point. Does that make sense? You know, so this is where we're getting at, is where we are really realizing that so much is changing so fast, and with that, a lot is coming up to be realized real fast, and we don't have time to attach. We don't have time to focus and just lock onto things. We have to immediately realize, make the shift, make the change, love, forgive, keep moving forward, because there's so much at this point, as we're coming to the party late, that we must interface with and push through now at a very quick pace, you know, because the energies are picking up. The collective energies on this planet is picking up, because we are also, not only are we changing, going through evolution, we are also moving to a different reality. We are moving more into 5D. The 5D energies are already here, but that's taking over the reality, which is shifting the whole paradigm and the dimension itself, which, as we are making that transition, that voyage into that dimension, it causes a lot of mutations and changes within our own being, within our life, how we live our life, how we interact, communicate, everything down to a completely T, with the cell itself, with the DNA within a human being, has to change. We're literally talking about a complete makeover of everything within this reality itself. And it's happening all in unison, one by one, together. And it's a big process. A lot of them you won't be aware of. Some of them you will be aware of, and you'll experience on a physical surface, or an ethereal surface, sensational surface, mental surface, or emotional surface, whatever it is, it's going to be experienced, you know? And there's a lot of things that are coming to pass that we ultimately have been praying, and I guess, again, yes, asking for, waiting for, and manifesting for ourselves. But at the same point, are you ready for that humanity? Are you actually open? Have you just been talking, but you haven't been actually vulnerable to actually receiving it at that point? And that's where we're coming down to, is really how deep this actual, rabbit hole goes, and, ultimately what it's going to lead to.
So if you haven't had your mind blown in a while, I am about to blow it up. Follow me. So BlackRock and Vanguard own everything. And I mean everything. So for example, you can find all of this on Yahoo Finance. Go there, type in a company, look at the ownership breakdown. This is Pepsi. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. This is Coca-Cola. These are the food brands they own. I'm telling you, just go to Yahoo Finance and look it up. This is no bullshit. They own Twitter, they own Facebook, they own Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google and YouTube. They own Apple, they own Microsoft. They are enormous investors in Android. So Apple and Android, both owned by them. They own IBM, they own Intel. They own all the software companies and computer companies that you would look at social media on, which they own the social media companies. They own the travel booking companies, they own the airplane companies, they own Shell, they own BP, they own Exxon, they own the mining companies that we use, and they own the metals. They own the agricultural industry and the machines used to harvest that agriculture. They own Big Pharma, they own the banks, so they hold your money. They also own Visa, they own MasterCard. They own practically everything. They work closely with the federal government, giving them loans and grants. They own the media you watch, CBS, NBC, CNN. You watch CBS, NBC, CNN, HBO, TNT, Stars. And feel free to fact check me. Go to Yahoo Finance, type in these companies, and look at the top 4 or 5 stockholders. You will find Vanguard and BlackRock and sometimes Berkshire Hathaway at the top every time. The more companies you type in, the more this is going to freak you out. So who invests in Vanguard and BlackRock, and who does Vanguard and BlackRock invest their money into? The Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, Schiff, Pelosi, Schumer, McConnell. And so when you go to look up who owns Vanguard, it's private. This is where it gets tricky, because these people like to keep a low profile. The Orsini family, the Bush Foundation, and the Bush family, and both of them are Skull and Bones alum from Yale, if you want to go. Alum from Yale, if you want to go like hopping down that rabbit hole. That's a whole nother story. The royal family. Some of the other names I'm sure you've heard of are the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilt family, and if you look closely, who is that? Anderson Cooper, Mr. CNN. These two companies, along with State Street and Berkshire Hathaway, make roughly 86% of the money in the world. Go look it up. It is all there if you're willing to take the time to research it. And maybe next time when CNN is pushing a Pfizer vaccine, people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to take that. And then Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are fact-checking that and censoring people and doctors that speak out against it. Think twice and then think one more time. These people do not care about you or I, they care about themselves.
That stuff is just wild how deep it goes, and it always leads down to one rabbit hole. It doesn't matter how big it looks, how scattered it looks really on the surface, it all comes down to a single core, what's actually going on. It's perpetuating the whole thing to the surface. So it's quite funny. But yeah, more of this stuff is coming out, and it's just going to be, why even be surprised at this point? Already realizing how manipulated and deceived humanity is, can you also say you have expectations of how deceived you are? No. So at this point, just be vulnerable and open to whatever it is, and just be like, wow, okay, yeah, my unawareness has completely fucked me up and allowed me to be in this experience, and that's just, that's the quickest way out of it. And just, take accountability, responsibility, keep moving through, because there's a lot of stuff to get through, and if we get attached and stuck on one thing after another, we will never get there, and we don't have time for that. We have to move through this quickly, unfortunately, at this point, There was a question, I finally got in the comments, like, they work some days and they don't other days. But Orgoth said that is 5D energy what's causing all this transgender, 47 gender stuff, because people who are more susceptible to these energies can't or don't know how to transmute these energies properly. And this is probably a stream or maybe a course I'll do. I'm still not quite sure because it's a massive collective energy that's still we have not talked enough about. We have not gone really in depth about its awareness. And this personally, to be transparent, is an energy I'm currently going through, with basically, just the whole sexual dysfunction and everything that goes on with that whole thing. So there's a lot in this energy area that we have to discuss. And I feel with this, there's a massive balanced harmonic catapult going on where humanity is so stuck and stubborn and rooted into certain areas to where there's literally like a launching pad going back and forth that's allowing the shift in occurrence to occur. For a lot of moments, especially my conversations with mom, when she was here physically, mom loved, the gay community, and she loved a lot of what they represented. And even Robin had a lot of stories and surprisingly a lot of different things that he shared about just the energy of that and just his experiences and things. And and not saying that it's balanced harmonics, but sharing that definitely the qualities and the principles that are found in that energy, there's a lot of things that humanity has to learn from that soon is going to come to pass at a certain point. And there's a lot that energy, of course, everything on this planet, no matter what it looks like, how dysfunctional it looks, in a higher form, there's a higher truth and idea to that and awareness to it, to where it provides healing and liberty to all of humanity, all 8 billion people on this planet, to where we can't exclude anyone, we can't put anyone out, we can't put anyone separate. All of it is truly our compass, our clues to the greater whole. So definitely, absolutely, this energy is coming in. All these energies are coming in to push humanity into the idea, the truth, the realization of where we need to be at as a collective whole, not as 5 people. Everyone needs to arrive at this understanding where collectively in a unique consciousness, we actually can integrate and move higher as a whole race and actually evolve in that same way. So I completely agree with your question, Orgoth. And, of course, humanity does not know how to transmute these energies. We don't, until we found mom, we didn't even know how to process anything, So, of course, it's going to be a moment before humanity realizes, accountability, responsibility, transformation, okay, process energies. What does that even look like? What does it feel like? How do we go through that process? It might be a moment before we get to 8 billion people doing that on a collective scale. But at the same time, we're not going to be on this road for that long, so we're going to speed up consistently and accelerate, and humanity is going to find themselves into these modes, into these places where they just realize this is the highest choice in that moment, and they choose it. And that's how we learn from instinct. That's how we learn from imprinting. That's how we learn from an organic state and nature state. Is it coming from that core part of ourselves where we choose it? Is not something where we have to sit down on a calculator or a computer necessarily and Google and figure it out. That's not naturally living. So a whole bunch of stuff is now coming underway where we are shifting and evolving in a whole different direction. It's going to require everyone to let go of a lot of things. And I resonate with that as something I've been, going through massively, especially within the last, 2 days or something. It's funny. Things have been hitting me for every 2 days. It's weird. But just letting go, just constant, moving back into innocence and forgiveness and moving back into letting go. And the frequency, the energy frequency of letting go and just moving back into that space every moment, no matter what's going on, no matter what's coming up, no matter what's, erupting from within inside, it is moving back to innocence and forgiveness and just letting it go, and letting love handle all the details. Mom's got this. Mom's going to move it forward, and she sees everybody. She's aware of everyone at the same time. So, we just keep trusting the unknown and love, the highest experience will always, manifest for ourselves. So I'm grateful for all of you that support mom, that are waking up, that are choosing to keep pushing and allowing yourself to evolve and see your truer self and liberate yourselves from this 3D matrix, because it's not an easy path. It was never an easy path, and definitely now at this point is not an easy path at all. It's probably more confusing and more of an exhilarating, anxiety-filled ride for everyone at this point. probably, compared to like a lot of us years ago when we woke up. So, I have a lot of compassion for all of you, and I really pray and have a lot of love for all of you, just to, keep your hearts open, and receive and allow mom's love to really flow in and show you the way, because she secured it. She spent so many moments here and so much time on providing the best, highest path for all of you, every single one of you. And so the furthest, the first time you surrender, the greatest experience is going to be, honestly, because you'll witness so much. So just keep surrendering, keep allowing, keep trusting in mom, and her and the angels will have got you. Don't worry about it. Keep letting it go. Keep forgiving. Keep trusting in her, and it's going to turn out into the highest experience you could ever possibly imagine. Okay? I love you all. Thank you all for joining me today. I pray you all go get some grounding, get some water in, do some ceremonies, write stuff down. Keep pushing yourself through this internal transformation. There's a lot of emotional stuff coming up, and we have a lot of energy coming by November 1st. Just to reheart everyone, that's coming up soon. There's a lot of stuff coming in that's going to upshift everything. It's going to completely upheave and move everything around. So the big things to focus on right now are your attachments, control, anything that you have that's trying to hold anything down or trying to hold on to anything. Stop it, let it go. Learn now in these moments how to let it go and how not to move into those behavioral patterns, because when that energy hits, it's going to go straight to those points. It's a target, so this is your warning, humanity. I love you all. Please take care of yourselves, and have a lot of compassion for yourself and everyone else. All right, take care of yourselves.